recoveries for the two total. And then the drug fund, using the transfers in for those proceeds, along with available funds in the drug fund, to purchase 2 more patrol cars. And then we're also reflecting transferring out roughly $63,000 to the new federal drug fund to get that money where it's supposed to be.
Questions for Cody?
None of that increases the budget.
Correct. It does increase the drug fund budget.
Nothing in the general fund budget.
Correct.
Make a motion.
All right, we have a second. Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Tim Rhodes,
No.
Jimmy White,
Yes.
Gordon Woodridge,
Yes.
Dave Williams,
Yes.
Sandra Lewis,
Yes.
Fred Ellis,
Yes.
Roger Lofton.
Yes.
Motion passes. 7.3, discuss general fund budget update.
Just want to provide a brief overview of where we stand currently with our revenue and expenses. Revenues as a whole, we're right at the 50% mark, 50% into the year. So that's roughly on target. We are seeing an uptick in sales tax. Hopefully that continues. Expenses as a whole, we're 50% into the year, and they're hovering at roughly 40% for the entire general fund. Nothing really has stood out, but I'd be open to entertaining any questions.
I'd like to hear a little more on the, general fund budgets where the, payroll budgets.
So for the general fund, all general fund payrolls together, we're projected to finish out the fiscal year $125,000 under budget, mainly due to vacancies or promotions in the church election.
I asked you last meeting, to give me some idea of what it would cost to adjust the salaries that we did not adjust in the general fund budget back in July.
For half a year or the whole year?
Either way.
For the whole year, benefits included as well as payroll taxes, $207,000. Of course, half that, $103,000.
And you say we're projected to have 125.
Correct.
Okay, all I'm gonna say on that is we had told the city employees we would look at half the year and see what we could do, because those were the ones that were left out whenever we did the pay adjustment. Obviously, you can't, from what he's saying, that the overage is mostly due to openings, so you can't really put that in the budget and expect it in July not to have to do something to make up for that. But I would like us to give some thought between now and the next meeting of doing some kind of supplement or some kind of bonus, so to speak, to use the overage to adjust that 2% plus minimum for whatever period that will do. Might not do 3 months, might not do 4 months, but for whatever period that would cover to make up for some of the revenue that they have not gotten because we get moved theirs when we moved the other ones. Also, and in thinking about that, your solid waste, their money has been in the budget since July 1 to give that adjustment. And even though we give some of those departments the adjustment because they had it in their budget, we did not that department. So I would like for you to at least think about going ahead and letting them adjust. It's in their budget. It's not anything that you'll have to go up on in July to do. And then we'll just have to deal with the general fund budget when it comes along, and what's there is there and what's not is not. So I really want to say do anything tonight, but at least give some thought between now and the next meeting of some kind of a supplement or bonus with the overage money due to the openings that we've had that not filled yet. Because I know we're gonna look at filling some tonight, so I don't know exactly what that money will be.
sales tax, Cody, how we compare year-to-date, fiscal year-to-date, compared to this time last year, however you want to say it?
We had projected a 2.5% increase for the whole year. Year to date, it's running about a 5% increase.
So we are making some headway there.
And the money that we're receiving today is from November sales, so that's our latest reports. I'm anxious to see what our December sales look
So
like.
it's not quite 6 months, but obviously December will include Christmas possibly.
It always lags 2 months behind.
No, so it won't, so Christmas sales won't really be acknowledged until
Uh,
February.
We'll know that in February, yes.
But the bottom line is we're already at 5%, so one would think that would be a, kind of a
And-
bigger month than most.
On our top, I'd say our top 10 sales taxpayers, we're seeing a lot of online entities creep into the top 10 now.
That's a good thing. What about like rates? I mean, I know the tax rate hasn't changed, but how the state pays us, is that staying consistent? Can we somehow figure what the sales are compared to what the,
So
Well, it is about
the figures I'm relating to you are just for the local option sales tax.
okay, that may get complicated, I don't wanna.
The state shared sales tax, where we just get a prorated portion based on population of the state sales tax as a whole, that figure's in your packet as well.
Okay. If that's easy to compute and to see how we're getting, see what total sales are, see what kind of dollars we're getting, because I guess my point is if we have lower sales and a bigger rate, that's something to keep up with versus maybe higher sales and a lower rate.
What really helped us was when the state changed the online sales tax formula 3 years ago or so. That has helped tremendously.
And that's,
And even Walmart's our biggest sales taxpayer, of course. But any online sales of Walmart, that shows up as a separate sales taxpayer.
where it used to, 3 years ago, it didn't show up.
It wasn't even on our top 100 probably.
Like paying sales tax on eBay and other places that we all buy stuff on. I think it was 3 to 5 years ago, they didn't.
Oh, it's interesting to look at our whole report. I mean, you name it, just every online retailer, we're seeing just an increase in.
But I don't remember that. I mean, I think it's 3 to 5 years ago, I think, you would buy things on certain websites and they would not charge you a sales tax. Now, I haven't seen one that doesn't charge one now.
So now it's based off your situs that it's being delivered to.
Right. Very good, thank you.
Any questions, comments? Hearing none, let's go to 7.4, discuss refilling public work vacancy. Casey?
I have a job opening in the solid waste department at the transfer station. I had an employee move on. It's a transfer station operator. His job doesn't affect the general fund or tax money or anything like that. It's its own money for solid waste.
Already in the budget.
Yes.
Any questions for Casey? No, I don't entertain a motion.
I make a motion.
Got a second? Any discussion? Call roll, please.
Go ahead, I do have some discussion. So, get back to what Mr. Lawson said earlier about the reason we have a surplus. Is because of not filling certain positions. That does not affect this particular position, is that correct?
No. Repeat that question. Let me make sure it's
Well,
understood.
I just want to make sure
This is a critical position.
that fulfilling or filling this, or backfilling this position is not going to either increase or decrease that 125 surplus that we have right now. Yours is solid waste, so it is completely separate.
Completely
from
different,
surplus.
yes.
Because one thing he asked us to do is think about a bonus structure or something, And I'm sitting here thinking that if that's something that we're gonna consider, would it be better to hold off filling anything until we make a decision if we are gonna go back and go back and give some type of bonus before we spend or allocate any more money? We hold off until we make a definitive answer, yes we are, no we're not. It really doesn't affect you as much as it does the board as far as filling that position.
This position is critical. This position, this guy hauls the garbage. He
How long has
drives.
it been vacant? How long has that position been vacant?
A month,
So not long.
not long at all.
This is a replacement, not an ad man.
That's right.
When I say replacement, he's gone, replacing him.
That's right.
Not an ad man.
That's right.
This is not gonna increase or decrease your salary line,
No,
because it's already there.
it's already there. It's already in the budget.
It'll decrease it actually, you won't bring the new person in at the same rate you were paying the other one.
I mean, it may be $1 less or something, you know, something other like that to start.
Are you gonna change the classification?
Yes.
Like what they're gonna require?
Will that mean an increase?
No.
Jimmy White.
Yes.
Gordon Woodridge.
Yes.
Gabe Williams.
Yes.
Sandra Wood.
Yes.
Fred Ellis.
Yes.
Roger Lofton.
Yes.
Tim Rhodes.
Yes.
Thank you, Casey.
Thank you.
All right, 7.5, discuss approval fire prevention process, page 29. While you're up there, just stay for the next two.
Yes. Good evening, Board. This is just a fire prevention education policy, giving us some procedures for which our firefighters can use to conduct the various pre-plans, inspections, things of that nature. Just procedures for enforcing the existing ordinances. So I'd entertain any questions you may have regarding it.
Questions, Chief? No, I'll entertain a motion. Motion. Have a second. Any discussion? Call roll, please.
Gordon Woodridge. Gabe Williams.
Yes.
Sandra Wood.
Yes.
Fred Ellis.
Yes.
Roger Lofton.
Yes.
Tim Rhodes.
No.
Jimmy White.
7.6, discuss approval PD firearms policy, page 40 in y'all's book.
That's correct. I've highlighted the addition. The only things that we're changing here is just updating new equipment, the ammunition I'm able to purchase and things of that nature. What's authorized and what's not. That's the only changes been made. I'd entertain any questions you may have.
No questions, I'll entertain a motion. Second. Any discussion? Call roll, please.
Gabe Williams. Sandra Wood.
Yes.
Fred Ellis. Roger Lofton.
Yes.
Tim Rhodes.
Yes.
Jimmy White. Gordon Woodridge.
Okay. Thanks, sir.
Yes, sir.
7.7 is a scratch. Individual had to be out of town. All right, let's go to 7.8, discuss for the IDB board appointment. Mr. Will Evans has served on our IDB board for a long time. I talked to him today, asked him would he be interested in staying, so it's my recommendation to the board to keep Mr. Evans on the IDB. I have a motion, have a second. All right, any discussion? Call roll, please.
Sandra Wood.
Yes.
Fred Ellis. Roger Lofton.
Yes.
Tim Rhodes.
Yes.
Jimmy White. Gordon Woodridge. Gabe Williams.
Okay, all right. Appreciate it. Wait, the podium, please. Said Justin has the flu, and Chris, our assistant manager, is filling in for Justin tonight. 7.9, discuss approve filling Lexington utilities, wastewater, and gas vacancies.
Yes, we have two vacancies, one in our wastewater collection department and one in our gas distribution department that we're looking to fill. They're both replacements. They've been budgeted this year. Actually, as Fred spoke earlier, we've actually budgeted for a higher pay rate than they'll actually come in and at, just to be safe.
How long have you been working without these positions?
Several months, but what we did is we asked the department superintendents to kind of let us evaluate the needs of the departments and those positions to make sure they're valid and necessary. And with $22 million worth of projects starting this month, and a meter change out that's gonna last 4 years, we've definitely deemed that these positions are necessary.
Any questions? None, I'll entertain a motion. I'm second. Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Brett Ellis.
Yes.
Roger Lofton.
Yes.
Tim Rhodes.
Yes.
Jimmy White. Gordon Waldridge.
Yes.
Gabe Williams. Sandra Woods.
Yes.
Okay, our next item is on page 54 in your packet, 7.10 is discuss for gas, water, wastewater, and garbage write-offs.
So since we didn't have a meeting last month, this is gonna be for 2 months total. And the total to write off is $6,880.02.
Any questions? I'll entertain a motion. Motion. Motion, and a second.
Second.
Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Roger Lofton.
Yes.
Tim Rhodes.
Yes.
Jimmy White. Gordon Waldridge. Gabe Williams. Sandra Woods.
Yes.
Brett Ellis.
Yes.
Thank you.
Well, I got a question.
Hold on.
You all did a good job, it was cold weather and everything with the leaks. Did you have a lot of homes that you found?
We still had several, but it was definitely better than it was last year. And I'm not gonna sit here and say we didn't have any issues along the way, but it was definitely minimal compared to the
Right.
previous years. We're learning each year where our weak spots are and our strengths are, and we're trying to adapt and make changes.
Well, with that water tower in 2026, that's gonna help a lot.
Yes, definitely. That one and the North
You all did a
Industrial
good
Bank.
job, so thank you
All
very
right,
much.
we're trying our best.
We did have some major issues.
We did, like I said, but hopefully we're ahead of them. You know, moving forward, we'll get better and better.
Well, I want to commend you people too, because I was there one night with them till 11. You had people that wasn't even gonna call that showed
That's
up
right.
to help. And that showed a lot of pride.
Yeah, we've got a good bunch that really care about this system. We do.
Pass that along.
Sure will. Thank you.
All right, Brad, you make your way up. 7.11, discuss and approve LES quarterly write-offs, page 61 in your packet.
Asking for the board's approval to, approve $14,240.70 in write-offs.
Any questions for Brad before? Is that 2 months as well?
It's, quarterly.
Quarterly?
3 months.
That's right. I'm sorry. Okay, that's it. Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Tim Rhodes.
Yes.
Jimmy White.
Yes.
Gordon Waldridge.
Yes.
Gabe Williams.
Yes.
Sandra Woods.
Yes.
Brett Ellis.
Yes.
Roger Lofton.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. You got a broadband update for us?
I do. As of today, we're at 3,546 customers connected to our service. We anticipate that all the mainline fiber construction, which means all the cable installed on our poles, that should be wrapping up by the end of March. Following that, there should be an additional few months to complete the splicing, and then all of the mainline construction should be finished after that. So there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and we're nearing it on the construction side anyway, so that's good news. We're continuing now to release cabinet areas for sales in the Montgomery service territory. All those cabinets should be ready for sales by the end of February. After we complete Montgomery, we'll move into the South Parsons area and start opening cabinets there. So continuing to progress with cabinets. Last month, we verified that we did meet the criteria to receive the Henderson County's pledge towards our project. So back in 2022, former County Mayor Eddie Bray signed a resolution to pledge some of his state ARPA funds towards our project. We met that criteria and we received that payment last month from the county, so appreciate that. Other than that, everything's been running pretty smooth. We're still moving along at a good rate. January hadn't been the best for us weather-wise, but we've still been moving along. So I'll entertain any questions or anything the board may have.
What was the county's portion?
It was $452,500. And also Decatur County has done the same pledge. So once we meet that criteria in Decatur County, they've also,
Same amount?
theirs is $500,000.
Power outages in Decatur County,
Power outages?
Yes.
As,
during this cold
Yeah, we had, some scattered outages, not only in Decatur County, but in Henderson County as well. Yeah.
That was my next question, because I had somebody ask me, I didn't know what to tell them, help, telephone line, help. Who would they call, what number?
What number do they call if they have an
They have
outage?
an outage.
Call our main office number, 968-3662. And that's any hours of the day. If it's
I'm
after
talking about Lexington.
LexNet,
Yeah.
844-4 LexNet,
844.
4 LexNet.
You still think we're on schedule, everything's still going good?
Everything's going good, yeah. I probably will ask for a contract extension with the state. The only reason I would do that is just to buy us more time to make sure all of our expenses get submitted to the state. Because there is some time delay as far as when we submit those requests, and then there's several weeks potentially for them to actually process that and give us a grant reimbursement, and then we just repeat the process. So you take all those weeks into account, it really stretches it out. So just to make sure we don't leave any money on the table, I would recommend doing a contract extension for another year. It's not saying that construction's delayed. We'll get construction done the same amount of time, but it'll give us more time to not leave any money on the table and get those grant reimbursements.
Any more questions? Okay, 7.13, discuss alley gate east and Nancy Street.
And I was, I don't know if I was actually the one that brought this up or not. When, you want to do?
Well, I will, but let me say first, I've got a conflict of interest because I'm one of the property owners out there, so that's not good, is it, for a city attorney? So, but we met Friday afternoon out there, all the owners, or with the agreement of the other owners, with proxy in their pockets, and we cobbled out a way to fix it back there. We picked up a little bit of unwanted interest back there, Blake, 2 or 3 different times, and now that the alley became famous, everybody wants to go and look at the alley. So you're getting some of that kind of stuff going on. The gate was up for years back there, and we had no problems with it. Everybody had a key to it, and there's just no issue about it. I did ask, and so we got an agreement in principle as to what we want to do, I think. That's the last I heard. And so I called fire chief today and asked him if there were any fire problems out there, and they came up with a code. I think, chief, don't let me misstate it, but if the building's occupied, the gate needs to be unlocked. And if you go home at night and the building's not occupied, you could lock it up. And I think that's where we are as far as the fire code is concerned. Like, there are no issues with it, but still we're crossing city property. And if we put the gate up, my people feel like they just need permission from the city to do it. Lexington electric system came across there in 1971, and the alley then went all the way through, and so it does not now because electric system addition took up the alleyway, and so it's blocked at that end anyway. It's really not much of an alley, so it doesn't go too far. But we're going to move the gate back in some, and if we do that, a cruiser or something like that could probably pull further in and actually get a look at what's going on back there if they thought there was some shenanigans going on. And so it's actually probably going to work out better for police to take a look back there. And but again, we feel like we need permission from the city to do it because it actually is a city alley. I found that out late this afternoon. For sure, it's over there in Doug Bartholomew's office. If anybody wants to go see it, it's framed on the wall, and there's that alley from 1820. It's a long time. So we now think it's a city alley. That's the best we can figure. It's kind of lost in antiquity. That's a long time. So they're just asking that the board approve the gate. That's what we're doing. We're not looking for any city expense. We're not looking for anybody from the city to do anything or pay anything. So it's cheap. It's cheap.
Y'all got one.
Gate up? Yeah, we'll put the gate up. Okay.
Is there anybody in here that's a property owner that disagrees or wants to say the piece?
Me.
Mr. Minor.
Actually, I bought the piece of property in October. The place was, it was run down, the old Wright's furniture building, condemned, sitting there. The roof fell in, and there was a gate across the alley, growed up, and I can understand why they had to have a gate, because I'm sure there was lots of bad stuff going on. I mean, there's no doubt. Glenn Melton, I hired him to come down there. He took a backhoe, clipped that gate up, set it up on the hill, and that's how the gate got took down. And then now the fact of the matter is, it's, you know, it only affects me because I'm the one now that's going to have to contend to open, close the gate or whatever. Why does it have to be a gate? There's nothing going on back there. I mean, I'm the only one that owns any property at the end of that alley. The only person that owns any property at the end of that alley. And I'm the only person that it's going to affect when y'all put a gate up there is me. And if they don't feel secure, why don't they put another lock on their door? It's the way I look at it. But there's nothing going on in that alley. You know, I wished I'd been there the night the man died. Maybe I could have talked to him and talked him out of that if that was it, or maybe I could have gave him some assistance if it was natural causes. I know a man walked up in there and passed away. And it's a bad thing. But why y'all going to... I'm the only one that owns any property. The fact of the matter after that is that this is just snowballed. Snowballed. And it's got plumb ugly. They sent the police down there in the middle of the day when I have an auction. Is that general? Is that the way y'all operate? If you do want a gate, y'all send the police in? I mean, this ain't Russia, is it? I mean, is that the way? I'm just asking. I'm just asking. I want to know. Because I'm telling you, that affected. I have lots of old people come to my auction. Lots of them. Old couple from Middlesbrough. They've been to my auction every time. The last 3 weeks they haven't been. I talked to their son come this last Friday. I said, where you at? So my mom and them's been reading about all this going on up here, and they just thought they'd stay home. And that's what it's doing. When you got people, I mean, why do we need a gate? Because you got some people that wants one. There's no need of it. It only affects me. My deed is for 2 pieces of property. My deed calls for a front lot. They bought the back lot separate with the access through the alleyway. So y'all going to block me off? I mean, that makes no sense. None. And I did agree the other day because, you know why I wanted to agree? Because I wanted to hush because they just kept running me through the mud and this and that. I just agreed with them. Yeah, sure, do whatever you want to do. And if you go up there and look at it, the city, they're going to block it off and they have a fire, God forbid, or an active shooter or something in the Princess Theater. People are going to panic. They got to jump off a bank this high the way they got it figured to get down, y'all. If anything happens in my building, we got to use the emergency exit. If the gate's locked, who's going to unlock and lock the gate every day? That's all I want to know. God forbid if my wife gets locked up and something happens to her, because y'all remember this, and somebody else will too. Who's going to unlock the gate? That's the question. Who's going to be the gatekeeper? If you don't have a gatekeeper, you're in trouble. And so, I mean, now it's just political. That's all it is. Because, you know, who wants to do what? And I mean, it affects me, and I was planning on making a parking lot, 2 parking spots so my employees can park behind my building, freeing up 2 parking spots in front of my building. But I know y'all just look at me like I'm crazy, but, you know, it don't affect y'all, but it affects me. It affects my business. You know, y'all talking about taking pride in something. This is not nothing to take pride in. This has been not handled, not even close to being handled right from word get-go. You know, and it's just not right. I had an employee that went to the Princess on December the 20th. She goes up there and gets popcorn from older people at the auction. Goes up there. She goes up there. He tells her, hey, tell your boss we're putting the gate up. I didn't say nothing. That's fine. I wasn't going to fight with nobody. 3 weeks later, the police shows up on a Friday night. Tell me they're going to put a gate up. I agreed then. I said, Ricky Montgomery come up there. And Ricky said, I don't want a gate. Ricky said, if you have to have one, let's come up with 2 places. I said, okay. And we did. Okay, thought that was over with. I don't know. Then later on, they come up with this other thing. Now the police is up there making reports on everybody, and I can't even use the alley because they're making me run me out of the alley that I've used for 3 years with my business. And I don't understand. I had no problem. I mean, I just don't understand. It's affecting me, and I can't even run my business now. And you know, and I don't want nothing from y'all. I'm not asking nothing from the city. I'm just asking them to leave me alone. Let me run my business. Let me get to my property, and just leave me alone. I've not bothered nobody. That's all I'm asking. You know, that's all I'm asking.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
So, the question that I heard initially is that there was a resolution in place. You don't agree with it?
Well,
I just
you,
wanna make sure
no,
I
wait,
understand.
okay, no, I don't agree with it. The reason I don't, let me back up. Because whenever I was going there to have a meeting with Mr. Laval over here, because he'd run my name through the mud so long, when I get there, him and Ken's there together, and they're on the phone with the Princess Man from Princess Theater, I just went along with whatever they said. I didn't agree with it, but that's fine. I don't want a gate. You know, and I don't understand why I gotta have a gate. And I wanna know who's gonna keep the key. Because if there's an emergency in the Princess Theater, they're locked in. If it's an emergency in my building, they're locked in. You go out through there, there's nobody way to escape. They're in a cage. Now, what sense does that make?
I understood that everybody would have a key.
Who's going to open and close the gate every day? It's got to be open, the fire marshal said. Who's going to go out there and unlock the gate and open it and lock it back? Who's going to do that? So that's all I'm asking. And if they don't, if it's locked, and God forbid it's an active shooter in Princess Theater, they're going to be just fish in a bowl because they can't go nowhere. They're going to be locked in the gate. It's a fire. They're going to jump off a bank this high. Panicked people don't make good decisions. And especially when you lock them in a back alley. I had copper laying there when I took out this building, redoing it. It laid there till November of this last year. It laid there 3 years. There ain't nothing going on. Copper would be the first thing they stole. I've never had nothing stolen. I got stuff across the front of my building. I mean, if they don't feel secure, tell them to put another lock on their door. If that's the case, I'm the only one that has property. The only one. And y'all gonna, and if I do have to open and close the gate to get to my property, well, why do I have to do that? There's nobody else up there has property except me. That any use at all. And I've been trying to be. I try to be a good neighbor. I cleaned all that up, and I understand they used to have things going on because it was a condemned building, open to the public. I can understand how that you have people hanging out and all that. There's twice I've walked up on somebody in my alley, twice since I've been there. And I've been there every time of morning, night, day, because I was working on the building, twice. One time was the electric system, one time was Mr. Anderson, the one that owns the building adjacent from me. It's the only time I ever walked up on anybody out there. I mean, there's nothing going on. And, you know, the way they make it sound like it's a crime-ridden area that you just go up there and there's people laying everywhere, and it's not. My family works there every day. My wife, my grandkids are there. I mean, I don't understand why I have to have a gate. You know, and that's fine. You all gonna do what you want to do. I'm just telling you, it's not right. It's just not right. You better look. You better watch it. If the gate's locked and there's an emergency goes on, you know who's gonna be reliable, don't you? The city of Lexington will be reliable. It won't be It won't be the man that put the gate up. It'll fall back on y'all. So, you know, I don't know who's gonna keep the key to the gate. That's the big question I got. You know, I'm not gonna unlock it and lock it every day. I promise you. So I don't know who will, but if it's not unlocked, when there's an emergency happens, God forbid, my wife or my grandkids or somebody gets hurt, you remember this night, I promise you.
Mr. Minor, can I ask you a question?
You can ask me a question. Okay, you ask me a question, is the landowner or the city attorney? That's all I'm asking.
Oh, I'm a landowner.
Okay, thank you.
I got conflict of interest in this thing.
Okay.
But we met out there Friday, and you agreed, I thought.
Well, I did agree with you because I wasn't expecting the city attorney to be in there when I went to talk to Mr. Laval for running my name through the mud. That's the only reason I was there. When I walked in, the city attorney was there, I just backed up and said, well, whatever y'all want to do, it's fine.
Okay. Well, I just told the board you agreed with it.
I know.
And you made me a liar.
No, I didn't make you a liar. I didn't know who I agreed with that day. I didn't know if it was the city attorney or a landowner. See, when I walked in and seen y'all, said, I didn't walk out there for a deal. I walked out there because Mr. Laval over here was running my name through the mud. That's why I went out there. That's the only reason.
Okay.
Okay. Now, you know.
Previous to the gate going up, did you see somebody in the back of your place with a mattress?
Oh, yes.
Wait, that was, sorry, that was, how many years ago? That was way before. No,
He's talking to him.
yeah, it was
Be
way
quiet and
before.
let them
This wasn't the
speak.
last 3 years.
We're not gonna, this meeting's not gonna turn into that.
Yeah, we've had problems out there in years past.
And with their
not
mattress,
this
what
year.
were they planning on doing?
But when was that though? Wait a minute, when was that? I want to know the
Come
date.
back to the public.
Okay. That was before I ever cleaned it.
Back up and say.
That was before I ever cleaned it up, y'all. It was grown up. It was it was on the jungle. It was just a nightmare up there, y'all. 10 dump truck loads is what we took out of there. 10. I can understand the mattress. I even rebuilt the deck. He's talking about the mattress on because the deck was all falling apart and looked so bad. I asked him, I said, can I tear down your deck and build you another one? And that's what I done. I tried to make it presentable and cleaned up. It's nothing going on now, nothing. But you're only gonna affect me. Yeah, there was problems in the past, but no wonder, because you had an open condemned building sitting there, absolutely needed to be closed up. But now you have an operating business that don't need to be closed up. I mean, I put lots of money in that, and for 3 years I've had no problem. Operated, everything went well. For the last 3 weeks, it's been a nightmare. I can't even use the alley no more. I mean,
What do you use it for?
I unload. I got 2 doors down there that I unload in. I back up and unload these doors, and I unload there. I mean, that's all I use it for. And it goes back there to there's a 40 by 60 that don't have a building on it. The only piece of property back there. And my plans was, I'm going to start letting my wife or employees park back there, 2 employees, and that way it frees up a parking spot up front. That was my whole goal from the word get-go. And you know, I've got a plan for the whole thing. And it's been fine until...
the whole alley?
Not the whole alley. Not using the alley, driving on the alley, going to my property. Leaving the alley open. You know, I don't want the whole alley. No. Because I'm the only one that's got any property at the end of the alley. And I just ask, why? I mean, I don't understand it. You know, but y'all, it's up to whatever y'all do. I just want to go back to the way I was, where I can work and make a living. That's all I want to do. I want to work and be able to back up to that door and unload without somebody coming up and telling me to move. You can't be here. That's all I want. Okay, and y'all can do whatever you want to, and just whatever y'all want to do. You know what I mean? Because I just want to be left alone, like I was.
You want to go on?
My name's April Morrissey, and I own Pretty Paws Grooming. I rent one of the office buildings up there that back up to that alley. And so it being, I have a yard that is in that alley, and next to my space, Candace has the hair salon, and her yard backs up to that alley also. And when the gate was up, we didn't have any problems going on back there. There wasn't anybody getting into there and getting into any trouble. Since the alley's been down, my crawl space has been broken into, and there's been someone that got up under there and propped the crawl space open, hence allowing cats to get under there. I had to call pest control, and it cost me nearly $1,000 to get rid of the fleas once I finally figured out what the problem was, because I didn't know anybody was getting back there. And just in the last week, when I had my vehicle back there to unload some stuff in and unload some stuff back, my daughter was back there, and there was someone back there. Don't know who he was. She told me about it, and just about that time the police came by and ran someone off. There have been people back there. There's broken beer bottles back there. There are things going back there. I can't keep an eye on it all the time. My building doesn't have windows in the back. Candace's does. She does see people back there. Ken has told you about things that have happened on his back area. It's not a place to be parked in. It's an alley that dead ends. It doesn't need anybody to be going back there. The gate worked. It kept people from going back there, causing problems, and anybody dying. It worked. We came up with a solution for Mr. Minor Friday to where he could back up to his door. It extended the fence past his door and put the gate there. So it wouldn't block his door. He could back up there and get to his door. And he was fine with that Friday. I don't know what changed. So that's where we were at.
Any other business or property?
I'd like to expand since the county got involved in this conversation. James Lavelle, as April stated, we were under the impression that there was a resolution. Had a conversation with Alderman Rhodes about this morning, that we thought that the business owners had a resolution at this point. We didn't know that this was going to happen this evening. And I think there's a lot of misinformation being brought out here. I do know that there was a body found on the business owner's steps, which is Candace's. And as a business owner, I think, it's kind of her property, but she was never informed about it. And that is it a crime? We don't know. I mean, last I've heard, the body's still at autopsy, and it has not been determined 100% cause of death. So, it's still an open investigation. But as Ken said, there was crime back there in the past. We've seen things. I believe it was Friday before last is when Attorney Walker comes over to tell us that the LPD is running a guy on a bicycle from back there. It's actions happening that shouldn't be happening. It's a dead-end alleyway that really doesn't need to have anybody in it. It shouldn't. And I understand the access concerns with it. I don't see, saying what Mr. Minor says is most people don't go back there. It's not about egress, it's more it is about ingress. One of the things too that this whole conversation of getting this thing started, I kind of took for granted what Mr. Minor was saying on the post that I made about it, which of course was inflammatory, that he had an idea for a solution. That's the reason we contacted him Friday. And the only reason I involved him in it was because he is a business owner up there. And talking with David, he's a business owner. Everyone has to have some input on what's going on. So everybody was in agreement that would work fine. Just extend the fence line down along the Princess, along our property line, kick it back over. The reason we wanted to have the meeting tonight is to ensure that met whatever the city required of it. But as far as us calling the police, one time. And that was, I believe, last Thursday we texted Chief Middleton. And this was after we had LPD contacted on us. We were back there parked, loading stuff in and out. As far as any time before that, we have not contacted the LPD at all. On the conversation we had Friday, Mr. Minor mentioned something about LPD coming up to his auction when people were in there loading in and out. And the LPD had a problem with that, and I guess addressed it with him. We were not aware of that until Friday when he told us of that. And as far as the loading and unloading zone, that's what we were told by LPD. And that's what LPD told us when we made a contact last week. So we don't set LPD's rules on how they monitor a city street or how they enforce law on it. They consider it a loading and unloading zone. That's their call, not ours. We have no say in that. All we're trying to do is just secure the alleyway the way it was in the past, just to avoid, having any more criminal activity back there. And like I said, just as recent as a week and a half ago, LPD was running somebody off. We had a dead body back over December 15th. I don't know what else to say, Like I said, Candace has mentioned that she's seen people in the back. Now, we've got ladies next door that work to us. Ken's got girls in there. There's times him and Richard aren't there. And they have genuine concerns. And as a neighbor, I have concerns for them. So that's where we are. I don't know what else to tell you.
And I do want to add that when there was a gate up there, everybody on the block, and we even sent a key to the police and fire, everyone had a key.
Any other property owners, or anybody lease from the property owner?
I don't think Mr. Anderson's here.
I'll make a motion to put it back up and give everybody a key. If any person, that wanted to, when I talked to Chief Middleton about the body, we discussed that alley and the fact that what good goes on in that alley. He agreed with me that no good is going to go on in that alley.
Other than businesses doing their business.
The possible things that could happen out there, we don't know what happened to this person. They could have died with a heart attack. They could have had an overdose. We don't know. But the possible things that could happen is people can be robbed there. People could be raped in there. People could be beat up in there. If somebody was going to break into, let's just say, that pawn shop, which is full of guns, they're not going in that front glass on Main Street. They're going to go in that no good that can come in an alley like that. And we agreed on that. And he thought it would be a good idea, and he asked me, he said, I'll see if Casey's got the money for a gate. I said, there's no need for that because the gate's already there. And so that's kind of where it was at. But I'd make the motion to put the gate back up and everybody have a key like it used to be.
Okay, have a motion, have a second. All right, any more discussion?
All right, so my question for Mr. Meyer, I've not been back there,
I got a diagram up if you wanna see it right here, you know.
but the comment was made earlier that what was agreed upon, putting this gate or this fence up, that would still, would it allow you access to parking and loading and unloading?
I'd have to open and close it to get back there and park, which, you know, I'm okay, I've told him where to get go. You can ask Ricky right here, he said, let's figure out a place to put a gate, you have to have one. And me and Ricky talked about it, he's the one that showed up, and I said, where you gonna put it? He come up with 2 ideas, I said, okay. And it just went from that, nobody would, Mr. Walker called me on Thursday and said, I told him where I wanted to put it, never heard nothing else. So, I mean, I just get tired of doing that, but behind my doors, I'm okay with it. I just want to get back the way it was and everybody leave it alone. Put it behind my door, do whatever y'all want to, but look, tell the chief over there not to write me the ticket when the gate's closed, when come fire marshal inspects, when they ain't unlocked, because I'm not responsible for locking it and unlocking it every day.
So then, to me, that is a valid question.
Right.
Who is responsible?
Right. I mean, who's gonna take the ticket when it comes over there and ride?
Responsible. So that would be 7 days a week, because some of the businesses
Exactly.
are open on weekends and holidays.
Until the Princess Theater closes, then it has to be shut. So you tell me who's gonna do that?
That's about, to me, that's a valid question.
Yes, I mean, I'm not, I don't like
You
me
have
to
6
be.
businesses there, 5 of them want it, 1 doesn't.
It doesn't matter if the question, let me rephrase that, in my opinion, it doesn't matter. If the question is, if the gate's up and it has to be open, while any one person,
That's right,
even if the business is closed, if there's a person in there, it has to be open.
that's right. If there was a fire in the front of the pawn shop, we use as an example, and people had to egress out the back of the building, they have to be able to gain access unobstructed to a public access way. Well, if you've got a locked gate there, then it's obstructed. Okay, so, but the way you remedy that is you make sure that during operating hours, the gate's unlocked. And at the end of the day, somebody just locks it back. You just lock the door with that.
And I guess that's the question I'm asking, is who, is it Jimmy? Is it me?
My understanding is that fence is gonna be on private property. And if that is correct, then it's the property.
That'd be the Anderson man, then.
It's
So
the
the
property
Anderson
owner
man-
that's responsible for locking the gate.
Is
It's
that-
not gonna be on the city's property, as I understand. Correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah.
You don't city property, gate is on city property.
Okay.
So is the Anderson man here to vouch that he will make sure that it is locked and
It could be
unlocked?
anybody that's there. It's in that.
So that means
Somebody
somebody
will lock
has
it.
to lock it or unlock it. Does that mean the city has to do it?
Are there any policies govern, do we have any written policies govern what we can and can't do in the alleyway, what we put up, not put up?
The only one I know is the municipal code for that you can't.
What you have is, you have ordinances that govern what alleys can be useful for, right? And they, obviously you can't park in an alley that belongs to the city, that you can use for loading. That's right.
Anything to address what we're talking about here?
Not that I'm aware of, sir.
Or is there anything that really shows who owns what? I don't, you know,
So he can't park in that anyway.
I
You
haven't
cannot
seen,
park in that.
before I make a decision, I
Just
don't
like
know.
you're loaded
My
into the
property,
pavement.
I got property in the alley.
It's the alley, you can't park in.
I wouldn't be parking in the alley, I'd be parking on my own
That's
property.
what you just said, you can't park in.
I wouldn't park in the alley, on my own property. I'll go to the end of the alley and make a right over to my property.
Mr. Minor,
Yes, sir.
one question. So, Chief, what he's saying, is there spots for two parking spots?
Yeah,
Two
I
parking
believe
spots.
he probably does back there from what I've seen.
Yeah, so the alley is just like a street to him to get in.
It's the conduit to get to the backside of his business, that's correct. And if you can park two cars back there on his property, you may very well be able to, I don't know.
Yes, you can, I mean, I know.
I don't really have a question. I do have a question, but if he has property back there that he can't get to, then is that liable? What we're doing is blocking them out from the time we key in and out. And really, on an alleyway, you allow any of them allowed to go in and out of freely. But I understand for protection, they want that area secure, okay? First question is, you got any lights in there?
Get it set up good, cleaned up.
So y'all got them cleaned up and lights in there. The lights in there when the gentleman went back there and was deceased?
I'm sure they were,
Yes,
but
yes.
yeah, he was found in the morning hours, so.
So, kinda like, you gotta know where the property lines are and what we own and what everybody else owns before I can make a valid decision. I mean, I'm not having a problem putting the gate up, but I wanna make sure that we put it where it's, everybody either benefits or nobody benefits. That's not the case. We need to all make it fair and equal for everybody involved. That's all I'm saying. I'd like to have a little drawing diagram or something, like we need to look at, understand what the property line is. Kind of, we're just shooting in the dark here. We're shooting over here the best way.
It's crude, but it's a diagram of all the doors in the attic. And I got 6 or 7 of them. It's crude, but it's there. That's the alley, it's all the doors, exit, and entry in it. I mean, if you like to see one, that's it right there.
So this is where you park.
That's what my goal is, to park here.
Jimmy, just give what you got.
Yes, ma'am. Y'all can have one down there, crude now, okay? There ain't no artist. I tried to, y'all want.
When you clarify the gate that's been proposed, not that you agree with it, but the gate that's been proposed is on the city.
No, that gate would be actually swing off of Anderson's property.
So it would, I thought, was that?
Now, look here, they're proposing, you can see it, but I don't care about it. I just agree with them now. They're proposing to put a swing gate here, to get behind my gate. This is where I would park, this is where I would park.
I'll let you run.
Let me unload that, this is my back. That's just where the alley's actually, park there. Right here. That's right there, 70 by 60. My garage at home is 24 by 24, so I know I can get 2 cars in. That's the concrete. No, that right there's something different.
All right, the only thing I was gonna say was, when we discussed this last Friday, the gate is going to be across the alleyway, not on the property. The reason being is, if you put it across our property, you just blocked off Ken Walker, and where it was gonna go, you'd block off Candace, Ken Walker, and Kenneth. You wouldn't have any access. Plus, you have to look at utilities needs to get back there, because there's electric lines and gas lines that run back through there. So that was the reason that the gate has to remain on the alley. So as you get past his back door, you can keep on driving back there and get to Ken's building and Kenneth's building, and also to Candace's side of the lot.
I've had Alderman call for the vote. So,
I don't understand what you get. I don't understand what.
Tim made a motion, Jimmy, you second.
Hold on. I don't understand
my door.
Where's the gate on the building?
That's where you.
What it is, the back unit, I was right past the Princess, this is his door, right here. We were gonna take a fence line, right here, solid fence, and then come across and put the gate right here. What this would do is allow him to get back in here, back to his trailer, and unload him out of the side of the one. It still allows the gate, so he can still access this here, and it also allows the pawn shop and access it. If the gate goes here, well, then you just block off, and this is a solid fence, and the gate's over here, you just block off this property, this property, this property, and all that back there.
Hold that up, let everybody see.
Yeah, hold that up.
What it is, no, hold it up.
We've all got it.
If y'all can see it, okay, I'll try to drop the line. All right. This is the alley entry coming off of Magistrate. When it comes here, this is the Princess. This is Paradise Palace. Right back here, past the Princess, he's got a side door.
That orange part's the door.
Okay, and what we were gonna do was put up a fence right here, solid piece of fence, and then put the gate here. This way here, he would still have access to unload and load out of his building. It secures everything else back here. If you put a gate over here, you can't drive back here, because you just fence this here off. Or if you just put a gate right there, I mean, still got open property, doesn't do anything to secure the whole out. So that's what the conversation was on Friday, what Ken and Mr. Minor and April and I decided.
You seen that, Jim?
Jimmy, come up here and look at this.
Yeah, that's what they proposed, and you know, I'm okay with that, if that's what y'all want to do, I just want to let it alone, I'm done with it. But who's gonna lock and unlock the gate for the fire? That's all I want to know, I'm not, and y'all go ahead and do whatever you want to, just whatever, I'm done.
Only other question I'd have, Mr. Anderson's not here, but has anybody talked with him?
I talked to him, he didn't want a fence at all, and that was the last time I talked to him, I ain't talked to him in a week or so. But last time I talked to him, he didn't want a fence at all, and I made a
We have not talked to John yet.
Wait a minute, I talked to him today.
Okay.
I did. Okay. And he wanted a gate back there. I called him.
Okay.
I know it didn't mean. And he said that if a gate wasn't put up, that he would try to put up a gate to protect his part.
Right.
That's what he said. I did talk to him today.
He's the one that has the building, there he is.
Right. What it is, our locks, Candace and our locks right there is inset. Pretty much everybody else's building is flush across the back, the pawn shop, Walker's and the Princess. Ours is inset. That's where the body was found.
Yard.
And that's, where we had to break in with the crawl space. You still kind of have some opening back there where his property cuts back in, but.
We've got a motion and a second. I've had it for an Alderman call for the vote. And we're in discussion. Well, he called for a vote or not?
Well, I don't know what we're voting for.
What the vote was put the gate back up, correct?
Are we gonna state where it goes?
Where they agreed to.
Where they agreed to, right there on that map.
All I'm asking, I don't know what we're voting for.
And Jimmy, you seconded the motion. Yeah.
And John Allen says he wants it.
He said, but what John Allen said was, he would like to see the gate up, but if the gate wasn't put back up, that he would try to figure out a way to put a gate behind his business. That's what he told us today. Alderman.
Jimmy White. Gordon Wildridge.
Might pass and think on that.
Gabe Williams. Sandra Wood. Fred Ellis. Roger Lofton.
No.
Tim Rhodes.
Yes.
Gordon Wildridge.
I'm gonna abstain, not vote.
All right, none is passed, so. Okay.
So can I ask another question? So, are there any other alleys in the city, within the city proper?
Yes, sir.
That is similar?
You've got all kinds of alleys, but that dives into a really, I think our city attorney can back me up
But
on
the
this.
question is, if we do it here, what presents this problem, what, stops this problem from coming up again and again and again, so there's a gate on every alley?
What we've always had is landowners to agree in law and kept the city out of it.
But the city would be liable in this case. If the gate's on the city street, something happens, they're gonna look to the city because we didn't enforce it the right way. And that's why I said, so basically that'd be for every city street in town. If we're liable and we're the ones taking care of it, so we can't do that. If we're gonna rely on the business owners to do it and they don't do it, they're not liable, we're liable. So, unless I misunderstand that, that's the way I would see it. And based on Chief saying that, you know, that we're by code required to keep the alley open for fire purposes, I mean, that tells me that his department would have to ensure that that is done properly. And that takes a lot of resources and time
And that would be with any new construction on the back of an existing business that built a fence. They're still gonna have to comply with the fire code for egress purposes.
Agreed, and I'm not arguing, I'm just saying that we don't have the resources to take that risk or liability, that's my thing. So, I'm wrong, and I'm open to hearing any legal, you know, comeback to that, but that's just, to me, a risk that our city does not need to take or start, like Fred said, you have for one place, and you're gonna start at other places too, possibly.
Can I get clarification on one thing? Is the alley for use, what is it used for? For unloading and loading, is that the use of the alley? That's what the municipal code says. The alley can be used for loading and unloading goods and services of businesses located in that area. That's correct. Okay.
Okay, move on to the next one. No raise public comment. Anybody in the crowd wants to address the board or have any questions about anything? Come on, state your name for the.
My name is Ronnie Dyer, and the question that I asked, of course, I called your phone, I don't know if you got the message or not, but it's been bugging me, and out there on Cook Street or 22A, of course, I know Jeff will agree with this one, there needs to be a red light there. How many more people's got to get hurt or die before somebody takes action? That's a dangerous spot out there. I go that way a lot, going to Bethel Springs and Henderson. You have to really pull out on that highway that they call a bypass, you know, and they fly down that road. It's 55 mile an hour speed limit. They do about 60, 70 mile an hour. You can't see of a nighttime. When you pull up, you have to wade out into the road to see who's coming, if there's a car coming. That needs a red light. The one on 22 was never there before. You turn down Cook Street, pull out on Cook Street on the 22, there was no red light. Taylor Bailey Road. That so-called bypass, just like out on 412, past the Pentecostal Church, there's no sign that says 412, one lane traffic, stay to the right. When you go over that hill, if you don't know it, you're going to go off on that field. And the day they opened it, a man got killed. Something's got to be done to save human lives. A woman already died from out there on 22, or Cook Street, whichever one you want to call it. I still call it 22A. She died, 60-year-old, because they said she pulled out, couldn't see, which is hard. A red light would stop it and slow these people down and make it safer. That's one thing that it just bothers me to know how many more people's got to die. And the city can't be out there at all times. They got jobs they have to do. They can't sit out there and watch for traffic. You know, a red light there, take that one down off of 22 and put it out there on 22A. It don't need to be on 22. Because now, it used to be you turn down Cook Street and you go to Poorhouse Road and go down to the Calvary Cemetery or the church. Easy access. Now you don't. You got to go all the way down Taylor Bailey Road, come to the end of it, turn back to the right, go down Poorhouse to get to the church. But on 22A, there needs to be a red light there. That way it will stop a lot of traffic, slow it down, and save lives.
One thing they could have done was cut that berm down coming from the south before they did. We've talked to state reps, we've talked to TDOT, we've talked to them about the problems. And of course, that's stayed up that way, so we gotta convince them to do some of this stuff.
Well, whatever needs to be done, you know, and just like on 412, there needs to be a sign stating one lane, 412, one lane, bear to the right. Because when they opened it, the very first time they opened it today, a man got killed on a motorcycle. We got to start thinking about people's lives. I know traffic is crazy. People like Roger agree with you, Jeff agree with you. People get behind the wheel, they think they own the country. and they fly and don't pay no attention. Most of them's on their cell phones, texting, talking, which is against the law, but it don't get pushed like it should. I see people on the phone going down the road texting 40 mile an hour down the 50 mile lane. You know, they're sitting there texting on their phone while they're trying to. It's supposed to be hands-free Tennessee. People don't do that. They want to talk on that cell phone. But out there on 22A Cook Street, whatever you'll call it, that does need a red light. That will really help a lot for especially nighttime travel. Because when I go to Bethel Springs to visit, it's dark when I come back. I have to come all the way around to be careful because it's hard at night to see it.
Right, y'all keep talking.
But I would appreciate if they really look into it and see if they can't file a suit against the state and get a light there. Something's got to be done to save lives. But I appreciate it.
Appreciate you. Anybody else? Jack?
My name's Jack Johnson. I'm 6th District County Commissioner. I want to talk about the unlimited ad valorem tax. I think people in here don't know what ad valorem means. Everybody knows? Okay. I had to look it up. I didn't know. It's that money earmarked for water meters.
I'm not sure what tax you're referring to, honestly.
I'm talking about the 5,350,000. Is that the amount? Mm-hmm. Is that earmarked for the water system?
It's got water and gas.
Okay. And that's gonna be a bond. Okay. What about the $2 that we're all paying on our water bill to, I think it said for electronic something? That's water. How much money's in that fund? And is it gonna be used for this?
No, that's separate. What this is for the physical meter setup.
Okay.
The actual change.
What's the $2 for?
Is technology fee for SCADA monitoring, for billing software, for account software, anything that goes along with utility operations.
Okay. So this money's not earmarked. It's gonna be paid for, what'd you say, Steve, 12-year bond?
No,
No, yes.
but it's earmarked.
It is earmarked.
It has to be budget to what this is just a funding source. We already passed it to what to spend the money on.
But that's not gonna affect property tax? You're gonna have to write taxes to pay for this?
No, the backing is ad valorem, but it's payable from water, sewer, and gas revenues of the system. And in the event of a deficiency thereof, but that's true on every bond that's outstanding, except for the electric system.
Okay. And Steve did say earlier, I think it was Steve that said, was talking about that the state would come in and set our rates. That happened 15, 20 years ago. The sewer, the wastewater had lost money for 2 years. They had to be combined with, it was just Lexington water service. Anyway, that's why I just wanted to know about what this is going to be used for, if it is earmarked, and it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. Anybody else? Say your name.
My name is Donald Hendricks. I'll try to keep this brief. My name is Donald Hendricks, and I'm the owner of a small flock of farm-grade waterfowl and uncommon poultry. Caring for these animals is part of my daily life, and as building a budding backyard business. Today, however, I'm not speaking as a business owner, but as someone who deeply is concerned about the welfare about the abandoned ducks and geese at our lake here in Lexington. The issue is not unique to Lexington. It's happening across the state. Domestic waterfowl are being dumped on public lakes, ones that are bred for purposes like meat and egg production or even companionship. They cannot thrive on these lakes in the wild. Unlike their wild counterparts, these animals are not equipped for migration or unsheltered living. In optimal conditions, most geese can live 10 to 25 years, depending upon the breed. If they lack the proper food, shelter, and care, it leads to illnesses such as angel wing, wet feather, avian flu, also known as H5N1, followed by a premature death. Recently, I encountered some abandoned waterfowl at our lake and tried to rehabilitate the sickest of them. After BRWDA forwarded us to the TWRA officer Brent Luther, who knew the exact birds that I was asking about, was given the go-ahead to take them home. I was harassed by misinformed locals and was illegally stopped by LPD and forced by Keith Wish of BRWDA to return the birds to the environment where they cannot thrive, despite them being in our own city ordinances such as 10-101 and 10-104. Under all animal control, which all animals, including ducks and geese, be provided with adequate food, water, shelter, and care for the health and safety. This also states livestock shall not run at large in the city limits, which is also a state law as well. When city officials prioritize public opinion over the welfare of these animals, we must ask ourselves, how much longer will these creatures be neglected in the name of small town bureaucracy? The problem and its impacts include the animal welfare. Abandoning them at the lake is cruel and violates our ordinances. The ecosystem disruption. Domestic waterfowl can spread diseases like H5N1 bird flu to local livestock and or local wildlife and wildlife that is coming in from out of state. Community responsibility. It's our duty to protect the vulnerable animals and maintain the ecological balance. My proposed solutions are collaborate and partner with local farmers and organizations to rescue and rehabilitate and rehome abandoned waterfowl. Educate and launch public awareness campaigns about the harm about abandoning livestock and providing inadequate nutrition to waterfowl, or even a simple sign of "do not feed the wildlife" as they put in most parks would suffice. Enforcement. Strengthen the enforcement of existing ordinances and prevent our further neglect of these abandoned animals. This isn't just about following the law, it's about doing what's right and doing what's right by these animals. And for our community. When I first visited the lake this Friday, to try and address this issue, I witnessed hunters exercising their legal rights, pulling bags of dead ducks from their boat and stowing them in their truck. Not one word was said. But yet, when I attempted to rescue the sickest of the 5 down there, I was illegally detained by law enforcement, and I regret losing my patience during this encounter, but I ask you to understand my frustration. Despite making the proper calls in advance, my efforts were blocked by what seemed to be misplaced authority and hurt egos. Let's move forward together to build a community where abandoned animals are no longer neglected, but instead are given a second chance at a better life. Thank you. Thank you for your time.